Okay, let's go on to the third house then. So we're moving on to midnight now to 2 a.m. You know what? My mother always said, nothing good happens between midnight and 2 a.m. And on some level, it is true. Some level, it is true. And if you've ever raised teenagers, you know that's the danger hour. If they're out after midnight, you don't know what is going on out there. It's the rules the third house. The third house, those of you who know a little more astrology, is Gemini. So you may relate to this if you're a Gemini, and you might relate to it if your sun was in the third house. If you're both, if you were a Gemini with your sun in the third house, this would be really, really a strong signature for you, right? Most of us here probably are not going to fall in that category. We're probably going to maybe have a sun in the third house, but we're a different sign. So the midnight to 2 a.m. house is a little tricky, would be the word that we would say. And with Gemini, you know, a little bit juggling, you know, and I always say Gemini has the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other, so to speak. There's always a choice here to make. Do I not? Do I not? So overall, third house, very mundane, associated with how do you communicate? How do you speak? Do you like to speak? Do you not say much? Third house also represents your brothers and your sisters. It represents the very mundane aspect of life, the people that you have to deal with. So it's your aunts, your uncles. It represents the person who, you know, the valet parker. It represents the people you have to see, you have to pass by every day. So there's not a lot of choice here in this matter. Oftentimes people are what I call the mundane side of life. But the surprising thing is, the third house, we know, rules the hands, right? So we get into this idea of vocational skills. Third house is oftentimes where people are trying to prove themselves by getting a certificate, a license, an accreditation. So when that third house is accentuated, now I'm talking a little bit different, in motion. We'll be talking about prediction in next month. But the idea, once you see that house activated, people say, I want to prove my skills, I want to quantify my skills. So this is someone who maybe is doing something, let's just say in their spare bedroom, and they say, you know what, I think I want to maybe go to the swap meet this weekend and see if I can sell what I do. They're trying to quantify, how good am I? Or they may be saying, you know what, I really like doing this, I think I'll get a license to do it. So, yeah, a little more in depth. Sun in the third house, we're talking about they're adaptable. We have juggler energy, right? Devil, angel energy going on. So we have adaptability. But we also, they're very widely knowledgeable. If you know a sun in the third house, they know a lot about a lot. Now, they're not necessarily experts, but they are, if you bring up a topic, they're probably going to have some concept about it. They've taken a class about it, they've read something about it, they know someone who knows something, you know. They're very interrelated, and so they have a great breadth of knowledge. Sometimes that can work against them. Does it make sense why? Because they're always changing. I can think of someone immediately who's, you know, sold life insurance, she has sold burial plots, she has been a flight attendant, she has sold in many MLMs as well. Very flexible, and now it's the point, and the woman is now probably close to 60, when she says what her next chapter is, everyone goes, oh, another, you know, like another chapter yet. So this is not generally a placement of someone who's been in one business their entire life. So we have the multitasking, the juggling. These people always keep moving through life. This was just a simple, this was Mark, he was a helicopter pilot, a long-term client of mine. You know, and it was a very, when I say those things about being flexible and adaptable, he flew helicopters for the BLM. And so he oftentimes was, I don't want to say on call, because it wasn't like they called him at 2 in the morning and said, we've got to go now. It wasn't like Flight for Life or something. But he got last minute calls, okay, oh, we have a team that wants to go out in the morning. Can you be there? Can you, you know, can you fly? So he's always in motion, always in motion. That was his business, so to speak. Those of you who know a little bit more about astrology might look over there in the 6th house of his work environment and see Uranus conjuncting his moon. That would immediately tell you he has high-tech skills. Uranus, moon. Moon oftentimes represents how someone makes their money. So Uranus on the moon would be high technical skills. And I remember when I first met him, I said, well, you probably really understand dials and gizmos and gauges, and you probably do really well reading those things. Because yeah, I do. I fly helicopters. So there's an example. We see this movement thing, right? And now we see this, the technological side of having to understand gears, levies, things of that nature. So that you start putting that together when you're trying to draw a conclusion about someone, or give people some insight in the areas that they're really strong at as well.